Hi, my name is Lashana Johnson, and I will be presenting to you my interpersonal communication project for Class HSCO 508 at Liberty University. When I'm ready to proceed to the next slide, I will say next. Next. The flow of my presentation would go as follows. I would do the introduction on interpersonal communication. I would then discuss my overarching goal in enlarging my conversation. I would then go into my background and my behavioral blends, and then discuss my communication barriers and our challenges. I would then go into the resources and strategies that I plan to use to overcome my communication barriers. I would then discuss my action plan, and then at the end of my presentation would be my bibliography. Next. Introduction. What is interpersonal communication? Interpersonal communication is a form of communication that is used in everyday life, but can also sometimes be difficult to tap into. In Jon Stewart's book titled Bridges Not Walls, he believes that interpersonal communication is the kind of quality of contact that happens when the people involved talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the personal. When I think about or hear about interpersonal communication, I believe it to be communicating with people on a deeper and more personal level where you can really get to know them for who they really are. To be able to do so, it takes a lot of skills to tap into this type of communication. One skill that is needed and is always used is listening. Interpersonal communication is not just about verbally communicating, but mainly involves listening. Burley Allen stated that of all the time we spend communicating, by far the greatest is spent listening. Therefore, interpersonal communication is impossible without the skill of listening. Next. After going through this course, I really sat down and thought about what I wanted my overarching goal to be. I want to be able to have the ability to communicate and listen more effectively by having more interpersonal communication relationships. I want to be able to go beyond a quote unquote on the surface conversation where nothing is really being communicated properly. After taking the course, I now believe that I can accomplish this goal. Next. When it comes to enlarging my conversation, this can be done with the EMC equation. This equation is made up of identified needs plus intentional resourcing, which then equals enlarging the conversation. Therefore, my interpersonal communication can help enlarge my conversation by helping me dig deeper into how I inhale and exhale. On page 158 of Bridges Not Walls, Jon Stewart describes inhaling as what people take in and exhaling as what people give out. Next. Background. I am a 24-year-old woman from Columbus, Ohio. I have a bachelor's degree in criminology from Capital University, and I will be the first in my immediate family to graduate from college with any type of degree. Growing up, I did not have much interpersonal communication with my father. The reason being is because I had more openness with my mom. I'm not sure if that was more because of a woman thing. We're both females and we just clicked that way, but I hardly even felt the need to communicate with my dad on an interpersonal level. I kind of felt like he wouldn't understand me or listen like I would want him to. Next. Behavioral blends. Behavioral blends are what are used to help people figure out what their personality types are. This can be determined through the DISC model of human behavior. This model consists of four letters, D, I, S, and C, which all stand for something different. The D stands for directing, driving, demanding, and are determined. The I stands for inspiring, influencing, inducing, or impressing. The C stands for cautious, compliant, and are careful. And the S stands for steady, stable, shy, or submissive. Next. Once I completed my Uniquely Yours profile, my behavioral blend turned out to be CS. Both graphs 1 and 2 turned out to be the same for me, which meant that I tend to be the same in public as I am in private. With this personality, I am considered to be more passive than active. I'm a people-oriented, however, I prefer one-on-one communication rather than larger groups. I am also task-oriented, and I am very outspoken and I'm not very outspoken or aggressive. Next, my interpersonal communication is affected in a positive and negative way through my behavioral blends. On the positive side, I am a loyal listener and very patient. When I'm communicating interpersonally, the talker can see that I am being what Burley Allen calls a level 1 listener. The talker can also see that I am willing to let them vent and talk and listen to them. They will feel like they are being heard, which is very important for interpersonal communication. However, on the negative side, I am very reserved, especially when I am put into leadership roles, and very submissive. Being so reserved can cause me to continue to have what I call on-the-surface conversations that I described earlier in this presentation. By being submissive, I have trouble expressing and communicating my ideas and feelings sometimes. Next, communication barriers. One of the communication barriers I struggle with is ritual listening. According to Peterson, ritual listening is someone who appears to be listening to the person who is talking, but in all reality, the listener is waiting for the speaker to be quiet so that they can speak. After learning about this, I realized that I do this a lot, especially at work during meetings. I'm always preparing what I want to say instead of really listening to what the speaker has to say. There are some coworkers at my job who don't really know what they are talking about, so instead of listening to them, I would rather for them to be quiet so that I can explain what needs to be explained correctly. Next, another communication barrier I struggle with is biased listening. According to Burley Allen, biased listening is when you form an opinion about the level and value of what will be said. I have a cousin who is known for not keeping her word. Therefore, when she speaks about doing something, biased listening occurs, and my opinion of what she is saying automatically becomes, oh, she won't follow through with it. I know several other people like this, and instead of really listening to them, I come up with my own opinion about what they are saying instead of not being judgmental or biased. Next, the last communication barrier that I struggle with is self-disclosure. Stewart describes self-disclosure as revealing to another person how you perceive and are reacting to the present situation and giving any information about yourself and your past that is relevant. This is more of a challenge than a barrier for me. I am always focused more on my past experiences instead of reacting to the present moment events, and this really does affect the conversations that I have. Next, the only resource and strategy that I plan to use to help me overcome these communication barriers is Peterson's Talker Listener card. I really like the way that he explained his Talker Listener card and how it can really help the flow of the conversation and help both parties, or however many parties in the conversation, really get out what they want to say and really help them listen to what that person is saying. Next, my extra plan consists of being self-aware. I want to listen carefully to what I say and how I say things. I want to be a mindful listener. Be mindful and focus on my attention on what the speaker is communicating in the present moment instead of being mindless and focusing on the future. I also want to use parafilling, which is described by Peterson, and I want to listen empathetically. I want to be more sensitive and receptive to what the speaker is communicating to me, and I want to be in tuned. Next, this is the end of my presentation, so I thank you for taking the time to listen, and I really enjoyed the class, so thank you for teaching this class, and thank you for allowing me to learn what I need to learn to be a better communicator overall. Thank you.